What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about what's happened in free agency so far. One thing about me is that when I'm right, I'm right. But I'm also going to get to a lot of y'all comments that y'all had on the last video, because some of y'all had really good points. Some of y'all, I think some of y'all I had to explain a little more to y'all so y'all can understand my reasoning for the video and what I was saying in that video. So first, I'm gonna start off with some of the free agent signings that we got. Noah I is back. That was something that was a good pickup. Kind of confused me a little bit because of the fact that we brought in Jonathan Jones. That's another free agent pickup from the New England Patriots. The reason why I'm confused about that is because Jonathan Jones is probably a really good slot. It can play the slot corner. And the fact that you bring Noah I back in, I think that maybe I don't know if that's to build competition or what is going to happen there, but I was kind of surprised. But it does give you flexibility with the Jonathan Jones signing, but not as much as you would probably want it to. But still, there, Noah I's back. Dietrich Wise was signed. For y'all who followed my channel for a while, Dietrich Wise was one of the guys that I said Washington should have gotten last year at the trade deadline. But they got him this year, so that's actually fine. He actually slots in very well at one of the edge positions. He can play both edge positions, which is actually good. And on top of that, he's very stout against the run, and he does have pass rush ability. So those are things that is really great about Dietrich Wise. We also got, we brought in a lot of our own guys, and Eddie Goldman. I'm not going to talk too extensively on that because I used to have a personal relationship with him. In fact, I used to date his cousin. So, you know, the one last thing I want to do is for her to call me and like get on me or something like that. So, but Eddie Goldman, it's good that he's back home. He gets the opportunity to play in front of hometown fans and friends and people who haven't seen him in a while. Since he was at Friendship Collegiate. So the fact that he's back home and he's getting the opportunity to play in front of family and friends again, and as a pro, you know, that's going to be something that's very impactful and exciting. So again, like I said in my last video, I thought we were going to be a free agent destination. Not necessarily me. I'm not going to say me. But the talk was about the fact that Washington, being as though they went on the run that they went on, and you know, everything was looking like it was going to be something special, and you know, free agents were going to come here. That was being said by YouTubers, radio personalities, national reporters and everything. Everybody was saying that Washington was going to be the destination for free agents. And what we saw was, we actually saw for the first time the shift in the market. And this was something I talked about some time ago in a video some time ago. I told people off the break, players are going to now get to the point at where it's not going to be about the money, it's going to be more about their legacy. And for people who've never played at a very high level, learning new defenses, learning new offenses and things like that is very hard, especially when the terminology is different or the way things are done is different. This year, we actually saw a lot of guys make very smart moves when it came to free agency, especially when you're talking about what they did with the free agency and how they went about the free agency. So an example of that is somebody like Jeremy Chin, right? Jeremy Chin, we wanted him to come back. They must, like, Washington must not have negotiated a fair enough deal for him, so he left. But he went to the Raiders. And of course, if you know, Pete Carroll is their head coach. So you know, on that defensive side of the ball, a lot of the terminology and the scheme style and everything is going to fit. Jeremy Chin is going to fit it. And that's because he can adapt to that, and because he's coming from a similar situation or a similar system, it's going to be easy for him to transition into that role. The same thing happened with Derek Forrest. Derek Forrest, even though Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera was running some type of weird, meshed up defensive scheme, I'm pretty sure that with Derek Forrest going to Buffalo and Sean McDermott being there, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of similarities when it comes to what is actually called that's similar to what he was used to when it was when Ron and them were here. So that move actually made sense, and we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of guys go back to their teams. Coming to find out, they actually offered Ronnie Stanley $24 million a year, and Ronnie Stanley went back to Baltimore for, I think, like 21. So it wasn't the fact that Adam Peters wasn't making moves. It is the fact that, yeah, a lot of free agents just felt that they wanted to stay where they were, or the fit for them wasn't what it should be. But again, there are things that happen in this free agency that kind of shocked me, and I'm just being absolutely honest, because there were a few guys in this free agency that was supposed to propel us into the next level. Because again, we're talking about, yeah, we brought back a lot of our guys, but there was still guys that we needed to propel us a little bit higher. The Will Harris deal, I don't mind that particular signing because he did play well. He came in and played in the absence of Melifonwu. I actually think that they were going for Melifonwu, and then when Melifonwu signed with Miami, they ended up going with Will Harris, which again fits us well. And on top of that, it gives Marshawn Lattimore someone he's familiar with as well, because Will Harris and Marshawn Lattimore were at the Saints together. So, and again, it's a system that Will Harris was used to playing in before. When you think about that Dennis Allen scheme that he ran down that he was a part of down in New Orleans. So we're definitely seeing the outcome of our free agency. I'm not certain how we're going to really go about it in the draft. But it's going to be one of those things where this is going to be a very interesting offseason, because even though we traded, because again, I need people to understand, we traded for Debo and we traded for Laramie Tunsil. That wasn't free agent moves, that was trades. So those particular moves, they did play a very important role for us, but I just think that I'm not certain how aggressive they were with guys, but we did hear the report that they were really aggressive with Ronnie Stanley. But at the same time, yeah, free agents do have to want to come here, and we're seeing that, yeah, like I said in my previous video, where are the free agents? Like, they clearly wanted to go other places, and right now you're starting to see everybody scrape up the last remnants of the free agents. And almost, if you pay attention to what's going on, almost every free agent signed deals that were 3 years and under. A lot of them didn't find, I mean, you had some that signed, like, I think you had like Will Freeze, he signed like a 5 year deal, a 5 or 6 year deal, something like that. You had Aaron Banks, who signed a 5-year deal. There were guys, but a majority of the free agents, they signed a lot of 3-year and under deals. And we saw more 1-year deals with a lot of guys that is actually quite shocking. But yeah, we saw a lot of movement in this free agency. And like I said, for me, a lot of the guys that I had felt were good fits for our scheme, they were snatched up so quick and so fast. And even though we're not far away from Philly, I think that Philly has jumped up ahead of us again with the acquisition of A.J. Dillon. That was a huge acquisition, because being as though Philadelphia already does have like this ball control scheme, you now add a battering ram in A.J. Dillon, who can batter you a lot to the point of where he ends up breaking one. They just got a little more dangerous now, because again, you're talking about a guy, especially with the tush push type of thing, he's a guy that can get that 4th and 1 yard. So as much as we kind of got close to Philly, with the acquisition of A.J. Dillon, that kind of pushed them a little bit ahead of us again, because again, you're talking about, that ball control offense is going to be something. Again, like I said, if at any point Philly figures out to run a Mike Martz type of scheme, and they go with that greatest show on turf type of offense, it will be almost impossible to stop Philadelphia. But I'm going to go to the comments, because last video, a lot of y'all had a lot to say, and I like the engagement. Engagement is always great for me, because it lets me know how much you guys are really listening and what's really going on. So I'm going to start with the first comment. The first comment is from Kenny Davis. Kenny Davis 2525. I thought we were a destination. Hey, and he got all these laughing emojis. So he's laughing at the fact that I said that. But from everybody that was talking about it, they all said that Washington was going to be a destination for free agents. And what we saw is we actually saw the opposite of that. We actually saw more free agents not come here than come here. I mean, did we sign a lot of our own guys? Yes, we did. But I think that when I saw that John Bates signed a 3-year deal with us, the fact that at that point that was one of our biggest signings, and then the Javon Kinlaw signing, that really worried me, because again, I could see if there's certain free agents that are coming, like a Bobby Brown, like a Tierre Tart, Tershawn Wharton, guys like that. It really makes you feel like your team is trying to build up on the momentum they gained from last season. And right now, even though we got a top tackle, which is absolutely incredible, and the fact that we got a Deebo Samuel, again, based on health, we got to see what happens to see if he stays healthy. We could be elevating a little bit more, but there were sprinkles of free agents that we needed. And currently right now, I don't see how we've improved our run defense, because again, even though we're bringing in Deatrich Wise, who's a fantastic run stopper, that's only one guy. So we will see how it goes. And then also Philadelphia signed Adoree Jackson. Anybody who saw my video, my free agency video, Adoree Jackson was one of the guys that I wanted Washington to bring in. And Adoree Jackson is basically going to take the loss of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Adoree Jackson is going to slide right in there, and that's going to be it. The next comment is from one of my day ones, Merle Locklear. I'm not feeling the move so far. Bring back Bates, but allowing Chen and Brown to leave. Still needs some major moves because we have given up so much draft capital. That is true. Again, I felt the same way. when you start to give up draft capital, and it's not the fact that we gave up draft capital, it's where we're starting to place the draft now, because we don't have our third round pick, which a lot of people tend to forget. That was a high third round pick. That pick was very high. So we gave up that pick. Even though we got Laramie Tunsil in return, that was a very high pick to give up. Especially when you're talking about needing a wide receiver, needing a running back, needing more D and O linemen, needing a safety. That's a lot of stuff to give up, especially in a draft that is more about potential than actually skill, which kind of scares me that I had to say that. But there are a lot like these edge rushers. It's a loaded edge rush class, but a lot of guys are not like super great pass rushers. So those are things that we're going to have to pay close attention to, especially when the draft comes around, because this is a really good potential draft when it comes to a lot of the players that is in it. But for all the things we need, I hope that we're able to fill those holes. I did hear that there's things being talked about that's being floated where Washington gives up the first round pick and moves back and goes into the second to pick up a second and a third rounder. I would hope that they would get high picks for a team that is desperate to get somebody. But we'll definitely see what happens when it comes around. But I feel you. Some of the moves that happen hasn't been some of the best moves. So we'll definitely see how it goes as the season goes on. But yeah, so far, like I said, I like the Dietrich Wise signing. I did like the trades. I like the fact that they brought Noah I back. Noah Brown is also back. I think they said Noah Brown is back. I think Noah Brown is also back. So I still think that we need that fast receiver again. People are saying Luke McCaffrey. I mean, hopefully we see him develop again or develop more as he goes along. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll see where it goes from there. Next is from my man from Said Moore. Said Moore will say something, but it's really a question, but he's making a statement, but it's really a question. And Said is another one of my day ones and somebody that I absolutely appreciate and love and got great appreciation and always love when he comments. He says, another flawed argument. So I'm going to say this. I know what Said is saying here. It seems flawed because of the fact that, we do have to depend on a lot of things that's going on. But, again, we got very far this year. We got very far last year. NFC Championship. We, understand that all of us saw the Super Bowl as a possibility. But we also saw how Philly not only manhandled everybody in the playoffs, but then went to the Super Bowl and manhandled the Chiefs. We are not that team yet. We are not a team that can sit up there and have the players around and on the team currently that can make a difference against that Philadelphia team. That is a very good team. A very, very good team. And yeah, they lost some free agents, but understand, Milton Williams, they still got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, so that's not a big loss for them. James Bradbury and Darius Slay, that's not a loss for them because Keion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean already took over those spots. Josh Sweat. Understand they still have edge guys that they really like coming in when you think about Nolan Smith, and they still got I can't think of the older guy, but they got guys there. They brought back Zach Bond. They lost Owen Burks, but I don't think they're hurt by that because they still got Nakobe Dean, who's going to be coming off an injury. So they didn't, even though people can think that they really lost them, they really didn't lose a lot of things. Kenneth Gainwell is gone, but they added A.J. Dillon. So, again, when you think about what we needed to propel to the next level, I don't feel that we done enough to propel us to the point at where if we see Philly again in the NFC Championship game, do we have enough guys who also had the talent to get us over that hump? And that's what happened to us in the last NFC Championship game. We didn't have enough guys with the talent. It doesn't matter that the brotherhood, that matters, but we also needed guys who had enough talent to get us over that hump. And I currently right now don't think that we got enough guys to get us over the hump. And I hope I hope you understand that. But like I said, love you, brother. You was missing the whole season. I was concerned about you though, but glad to see that you're back. Next is Mr. DCB 215. You have to know that your argument is flawed. Hopefully you heard the last comment. The free agents could want to be here, but it's up to the team to, one, want them here, two, make sure they fit the culture, three, make sure they fit the scheme, four, the financials make sense. Your video should read, how come the Commanders aren't picking the players I want? When I talk about free agent guys to come here, it's more about guys that actually do fit the scheme. One thing I won't do is, I'm not one of those fans that's like, let's get this guy, let's get this guy, let's get this guy, let's get this guy. If you go back and you look at my free agent video, it was about guys that would make us better in certain positions. Tierra Tart, Bobby Brown. Those two guys are very solid guys against the run. Tierra Tart also brings pass rushing ability. That's something that we really need. Tershawn Wharton, again, another guy that brings a solid ability to stop the run, but at the same time does have pass rushing ability. Adoree Jackson, a slot corner guy who can play outside and is also very good, and he's scheme diverse. The same thing applies to Jason Pinnock. I don't even think Jason Pinnock has been signed by anybody yet, but he's another guy that's very scheme diverse. So whenever I talk about free agents, same thing with Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson is like, whenever I talk about guys, it's not about necessarily who I want to come in. It's more about the guys that best fit the scheme, but at the same time elevate your team. So it was sad to see a lot of those guys either go back to where they were or go somewhere else. Bobby Brown didn't go back to the LA Rams. He actually went to Carolina. Carolina, like I said, Carolina seemed to, like, they looked at more of my videos than anything. Mike Jackson is back there. Mike Jackson, he's another guy that I had in my last year when I was talking about mid-season trades. Mike Jackson was one of the guys that I wanted here. Like I said, Deatrich Wise is here. He was one of the guys that I talked about. Marshawn Lattimore, again, another guy that came here. So I understand that you may feel that my thinking and my thoughts are flawed, but even with that, coming to find out that, yeah, Adam Peters tried to get Ronnie Stanley here, and he turned down more money to go back to Baltimore. Like I said, this was a very odd free agency where we actually saw guys actually sit up there and, they're actually focusing on the fact of their legacies and what schemes fit them best, so they don't have to go and learn new schemes and stuff like that. Like I said, learning defense and offense is hard, especially when you talk about when you go to college and then you get to that NFL level. Remember when Al Saunders was here and they were talking about the 500-page offensive playbook? Yo, like that's how difficult offense can get. And to have to try to lock that into memory is some difficult stuff. Next is another day one, Lawrence Bryan. Wouldn't you rather sign a player and not give up the draft picks? Hell yeah. In fact, Lawrence, you got two questions. Gonna ask you, look at 49ers. Look at the 49ers. Lost or didn't re-sign a lot of their players where they're the GM picks and they were not draft picks. I think he's talking about the fact that, a lot of their players were draft picks, but the GM didn't re-sign them. and now they're going to get a lot of draft compensation. That is true. Um, I would rather sign the players than to give up draft picks. In the case of Laramie Tunsil, I understand that one. That is one that, without a shadow of a doubt, I understand that. You don't get elite offensive tackles often. Remember, when Ron stupidly traded Trent away for practically nothing, that hurt us for a long time. And you're talking about, we had a nice little gap there where we didn't have an elite offensive tackle. Remember, we went with Charles Leno. We went Charles Leno for about like 2 seasons. And we saw that Charles Leno wasn't really up to the task of really being a blindside blocker anymore. So with that, we really struggled. And to now get one of the top tackles here, I understand giving up the draft picks. But there are guys that were out there that I really do feel that we had an opportunity to go out there and get, and we just didn't get them. In the sense of this draft, I did want us to keep a lot of our draft picks. But again, when Laramie Tunsil come up, you just got to give them what they want. But we did get a 4th rounder back in return. It's just the fact that we gave up a high 3rd rounder. But it's one of those things where you call it the necessary evil. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, yeah, we wanted to build through the draft, but this type of player doesn't come by often. Again, I don't have an issue with giving up a 5th rounder for Debo, because that's fine. But again, like I said, yeah, my only concern with this team is that we don't I don't want us to get complacent in the understanding of what we did last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, oh, we just bring back the gang, not understanding that not everybody not everybody you brought back is ultra talented enough to compete with Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? Like, that right there is a concern. How did we really truly capitalize on what we did last year? We went to the NFC Championship game. Did we as a team really capitalize on that? And we will find out when the season comes along. But, that's my worry. The next comment is from Ali Camara. Ali Camara. I'm going to say Ali Camara. Some players have to be traded even though they want to come to Washington. Maybe Washington don't want to pay for all of that. Coming to find out that again, Ronnie Stanley just didn't want to come here. We offered him more money. And it's no telling how many other players that Adam Peters actually did offer money to. And like you said, they just didn't come. They just did not come. And again, when everybody is saying that Washington is going to be a destination for players, we found out that maybe we're not quite the destination we want to be yet. You know what I'm saying? Because again, we only got 1 year for that. For everybody that's looking, they might be looking like that was only 1 year of success. Do it again, then we'll think about coming this upcoming season, because we lost out on the safety market, a really solid safety market. I mean, you talking about, even when you think about Jeremy Chin, but Trayvon Moehrig, even though the reason I didn't say anything about Javon Holland, because I don't think that he fits our scheme. But somebody like Justin Reed, you know what I'm saying? Like, those type of guys, they fit your scheme very well. Not only that, a guy like Justin Reed would have helped develop Quan Martin even more. So that was one that we really missed out on. So, especially, like I said, this safety market, it was one of the better safety markets, and the fact that we missed out on it's a little disheartening. But again, they gotta want to come here. Next is N Cruz 07. He said, bro? He said, bro, honestly, this video is so off. Just because you want to come to Washington don't mean you'll come to Washington. The GM will sign players that make sense, fit, and financially wise. Secondly, we've addressed 2 of the 3 biggest needs so far through free agency. if you're talking about the two where you're talking about wide receiver and offensive tackle, understand we got those through draft, not free agency. In fact, this is what he said. O tackle on wide receiver. Jeremy Chin was always going to be best off the market, was going to be based off the market. We wanted to bring him back if the price was right, but we weren't going to overpay for him. He's terrible in coverage. De'Ami Brown we could have kept, but let's be honest. He's a third string receiver at best. The draft is where Peters wants to build the future of talent. We got a first, second, fourth, sixth, and seventh. So that's a lot. But again, like I said, Laramie Tunsil and De'Ami Brown were through trades. So that doesn't count as free agent signings. We will have to pay Laramie Tunsil eventually. We're going to have to give him an extension because his contract, I think he has 2 more years left on his deal. So we're going to have to pay him an extension to stay. De'Ami Brown, that's how I was looking at De'Ami Brown, as a third receiver, because again, you already got Deebo Samuel here, and like I said, you know, that with the Deebo Samuel signing, you had to do something else, like bring De'Ami Brown back, because then De'Ami Brown's ability to get deep and get open and like outrun coverage would have made the Deebo Samuel addition even more of a dangerous thing, because of the fact that just like Philadelphia, where they have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson, you now would have had a team that could do the exact, you would have had a receiving core that could do the same thing and be just as dangerous when it comes to those type of things. So again, price, I don't even think price came into play. Because again, you're talking about, we were one of the teams that had the highest salary cap. Like, we had more than enough money to spend. And right now, currently, I don't even, because I think they have to spend to a certain amount. I don't even think they spent to the certain amount that they have to spend to. So that's going to be something that, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Then there are reports coming out that Adam Peters and his staff might have spoke to Ronnie Stanley too early. So if that becomes something, we may actually mess around and lose a draft pick. Hopefully that report isn't true. Hopefully that's something that didn't happen. But if that's the case, that can be a very big problem for us. So we'll definitely see how that goes. I hope it doesn't cost us in the long run. But again, it's something that I honestly hope is like there for us. Next is Nkoki Mnukub. I could be saying that wrong. It could be like a play on words, but I hope that's right. But I hear you, but you can't hire all stars. We'll lose every snap. I'm gonna say this. I agree with you. You can't hire all the stars, but you do need guys who are better than the guys that you are bringing in. Like, again, Jeremy Chin, right? Is Justin Reed not an upgrade over Jeremy Chin? The answer is yes. When you think about losing Jonathan Allen, is not bringing Tierre Tart and Bobby Brown in not a good replacement? And not only that, Tierre Tart signed for a 1-year, $5.5 million deal to go back to the Chargers. So I mean, that right there, you could have lured. That means you telling me we could have actually lured Tierre Tart away with a 3-year, 15 or maybe even $20 million deal. Like that, you could have had that in your basket right then and there. But again, that doesn't mean they didn't try. That doesn't mean that Tierre Tart didn't turn them down. It's just that those type of things, like when you go through free agency and there's a guy who can bring your talent level up and he fits your scheme, and not only that, they both were cost effective. You had the opportunity to really have something that was special. And I just think they missed out on that. And it's sad that they missed out on that. So that's the part right there. So hopefully Hopefully we'll see what happens because they still have a lot of money to spend. And I'm not saying bring in all the free agents. It's just that currently right now they're going to have to spend to a certain amount, and then at that point, they still got their draft picks that they got to sign as well. And I think they budget that for about 10 mil or something like that. So again, we'll definitely see how it goes. Hopefully, that report that I talked about earlier doesn't harm us in losing a draft pick. But again, we'll see what happens. Next is C. Michael Henson. Free agents aren't avoiding us. We are heavily screening our choices. What we don't want to do is become the Dallas Cowboys. Let them cook. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship, for Christ's sake. Just let them cook. I'm not talking about not letting them cook, because I do want them to cook. I want them to improve this team by all means. I want us to go back and further than the NFC Championship. I want us in the Super Bowl. And again, we're talking about taking advantage while Jaden Daniels is still on his rookie deal. Because understand this, if we don't do well next year, we still got 3 years of Jaden Daniels before we have to pay him. And understand, even in that third year, if he does well this upcoming season again, and then we go into that third year, understand that even at the third year, we got to start talking an extension with him. Which means that our window of success is not as long as people want it to be, especially if you want a quarterback that is shown to be a generational talent to stay here and not walk away because we did what we did with Kirk, where we waited until his contract was pretty much over with and then looked stupid that we had to give him 1-year deals over and over and over again. The franchise tag deals over and over again. So again, I want them to cook, but I also need them to understand that our talent level needs to be a little bit higher when you're talking about competing against the Philadelphia Eagles and even somebody like the Los Angeles Rams. Those teams, like we saw what I can't say this enough. We saw what Philadelphia did in the playoffs. Like, they ripped through everybody except for the Rams. They ripped through everyone. They brutalized the Packers. They sat up there and went up against the Rams, beat the Rams, came back, brutalized us, went to the Super Bowl and brutalized the Chiefs. Like, understand that is a juggernaut that we have to go against. And we have to see them twice in the season. So, and understand, if we make the playoffs, we might have to see them again. So, when you're talking about that, you want to make sure that your talent, you're getting the most out of the talent that's on your team, but the talent is also lifting your team up more. So, again, like I said, I want them to cook, but we got to really cook. And like I said, it may be year 3 when we start seeing free agents actually come in. And it makes a difference, especially with this upcoming draft. We got to draft the right guys that when the next draft comes, we already got our guys to transition in and out of certain things. So I want them to cook. I definitely don't want to be like Dallas. Next is 2 comments from Johnny Bryson. Why would we trade for 2 players like Tunsil and Debo? Gallup is 1,000 times better than De'Ami Brown. Because Debo, again, like I said, my issue with Debo has always been his injury history. It's not the fact that he gets injured. It's when he gets injured. He gets injured right at key moments in times. He gets injured in the playoffs, or he gets injured in the big game, and then you don't have him available anymore. That's my only issue with Debo. Now, again, and I also said, he's also not really a receiver anymore. Like, he's a gadgety, utility type of guy. That's exactly what he is. And I'm not mad at that, but that's one of those little gray areas that you have to analyze. How much stock do you put on a guy whose gadgets can go away especially when you're talking about a defense adapting to something like that. If they know that he's a guy that they're going to throw the short pass to and he's going to run up the field, then that's what it's going to be. In comparison to a guy like De'Ami Brown, where De'Ami Brown was flexible, where it's like, yeah, De'Ami Brown can take that short pass and run it up, but guess what? De'Ami Brown could go deep, and then all of a sudden now you might put your slowest corner thinking that De'Ami Brown only catches these short passes, but then all of a sudden De'Ami Brown then speeds past the guy. Deebo Samuel, you may not get the exact same thing. Is he great at with yards after the catch? Yes, but he's not fast like De'Ami Brown. So, but you had to make the play. Tunsil, again, I can't say enough about Tunsil. That is an elite left tackle. That I get. Like, you gotta make a deal like that, and we saw what happened. Now with the talk of Brandon Coleman actually going to the right side, which again, I said it from the moment he was drafted. I said he can play tackle. And again, this could be a developmental thing for Brandon Coleman as well, because we've seen guys like Orlando Brown Jr. Everybody forgets him. I remember Orlando Brown Jr. was drafted as a tackle. He got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, started out at right guard, moved to right tackle, and then because he wanted to play left tackle because he said that's his natural position, he ended up leaving to go play left tackle. And I think he's still with Kansas City, or no, I think he's gone from Kansas City now. But again, that was a guy that, elite level talents that sometimes they play different slots, and that happens. DeJuan Jones is another one. Played for the Cleveland Browns. He's another one. Started him at guard. He ended up being kicked over to the right side, and then he's kicked over to the left side, all in one season. So again, that's why you make the deals. Michael Gallup being better than De'Ami Brown, health-wise, that's not true. Speed-wise, at this point, that's still not true. Michael Gallup hasn't been a big-time receiver in about 3 years. He's not that guy. And again, you're talking about, we've seen him slow as he's gone along, and these injuries have built up on him to the point at where I don't think that any team is really looking at it from that standpoint. I don't know if Michael Gallup is even fast enough anymore to even replace a guy like De'Ami Brown. So again, I mean, if that's your feeling, I understand, but Michael Gallup is not better than De'Ami Brown. Sorry, I gotta disagree with you on that one. The last comment is from Zach Miner Jr. Or it's J1R. So I'm assuming that's Junior, but I could be wrong. Another content of clueless, delusional fan. First, I want to say this, Zach. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your comment. But there's no delusion here. I've been one of the YouTubers who's always been very down the line when it's come to this team and this team. And a lot of the fan base actually did hate me. Hell, I even had coaches that hated me. I had players that hated me because I was so down the middle and I was so honest about what I said. And I'm not going to change that. I'm not delusional at all. The point that I was making was that this was, like, according to everyone, this was going to be the destination for free agents. And that just didn't happen. And what we saw a change in free agency this year. We saw guys actually look at their careers and say, I'm going to go somewhere that I fit. I'm going to go somewhere where I already know the scheme. I'm going to stay where I am. It's not just about the money anymore. And then to see some guys do take the money, but take the money somewhere where they do fit as well. We saw that happen this year. That normally doesn't happen in most free agencies. Like, Even when you think about somebody like Devontae Adams, I didn't want him here at all and don't want him here. I think that he's a locker room cancer, especially when things go downhill. But him going to the Rams, that makes some sense. The thing about it is, what happens when he really finds out he's not the number one receiver? Because that part right there, I don't think he really has gotten that explored enough to know he's not number one. Puka Nacua is. Delusional fans will sit up there and have you believe that every free agent can come to their team and still be successful. Delusional fans will have you believe that their team is the best of the best. I'm not one of those fans. I'm not one of those people. And because of that, understand that when it comes to a person like me, I'm going to give you what it actually is, what it's supposed to be. And I'm never going to sit up there and backtrack from what I've said before. So with that, I guess you're not a Commanders fan, which is why you call me a clueless delusional fan. You might be an Eagles fan. I could be wrong. You might be a Giants fan. I don't know. But I'm just saying, when it comes to free agency, you sprinkle guys who got better talent than the guys that you currently have here already. And the reason you do that is because where you got to the last time is where you're trying to get to again or exceed getting there. And currently right now, as this quote-unquote delusional fan, clueless delusional fan, I don't think that we've made the strides to exceed where we already been. Now, some people will be okay. Some people had that 49ers mindset. At least we're competing every time. No, my mindset is us winning it all. And that's where I want us to go. I want us to win it all. And the only way to win it all is by improving your team constantly. And sometimes it takes you to sit up there. One thing I will say, and this will be the only compliment Fan Snyder will ever get from me. This MFer would bring a free agent in, and no matter what was going on, he would have them stay. Now, did he have to overpay for them? Yes, he did. But he would get these guys in, and he would keep them here. But like I said, man, that was good. I love the interaction. I'm going to do this more often, where I do talk more about what I talked about in previous videos, and I explore your comments. I appreciate all the commenters. Keep coming back. Y'all tell me how y'all feel. How do y'all feel about what I said with answering some of these questions? Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.
We'll be right back.